In November 2008, after a heated and controversial debate in the state of California, marriage between two men and two women was made illegal. One major reason opponents of gay marriage had for being against the union of gays was that homosexuality is a choice and it can easily be turned off. The proposition of my argument is that homosexuality is indeed biological and cannot be changed. Proving that people are gay will give them wider social acceptance and make life easier for them. First, I will show that there are biological differences in the brains of homosexual and heterosexual men. Second, I will show that homosexuality in men is genetic and linked to their mothers. And finally, I will give examples of how the absence of male hormone in the womb may cause homosexuality. First, using scientific evidence such as lab experiments and brain scans, one can infer that the physical differences in the brains of homosexual and heterosexual men are biological. In an article published by Dr. Jeffrey Santinover in 1997, he states that the nucleus of cells in the brains of homosexual men was twice as large by volume on autopsy as in heterosexual men. MRI scans show that homosexuals' brains are aroused by male images. Since there is no way to purposely control these reactions that begin at the starting point of the brain, homosexuality cannot be controlled and is therefore biological. There is a difference in the anterior commissure, which is the structure that divides the right and left parts of the brain. It is larger in homosexuals and women than in heterosexual men. Second, homosexuality is found to be genetic, and in most cases, homosexual men are linked to their mothers. In a study of 98 homosexual and 100 heterosexual men performed by psychologist Francesca Corna in Italy, a genetic factor was found in women that boosts fertility and also produces heterosexual men, or homosexual men. In an article written by Michael Hopkins for Nature magazine, in regards to the previous study, he stated that homosexual men have more fellow homosexuals in their maternal family, again hinting that their sexuality is influenced by their mother's genes. In similar studies, it was found that homosexuals are more likely to have older brothers, which links homosexuality to changes in their mother's immune system during pregnancy. Third, it has been stated that the absence of male hormone exposure in the womb may have a correlation with the attraction of males to other males. An expansive study performed by the Department of Psychology and Graduate Groups Neuroscience at Berkeley University showed that in most cases, the index finger is longer than the ring finger in homosexual men. This is due to lower than normal levels of testosterone in the womb. As previously mentioned, there is a phenomenon called the Big Brother effect. This is the theory that the chances of a male being gay increase with each additional older brother he has, which is due to changes in the mother's immune system during previous pregnancies. In an article by Michael Olent, doctor of labor and birth, he explains that the lack of male hormones during pregnancy may be a result of high stress levels of the mother. During such stressful situations, the mother's body experiences higher levels of activity in the adrenal glands. The adrenal glands release male hormones which are different from testosterone, but similar enough to compete with testosterone in the fetal brain to lower the amount of free testosterone. German researcher Gunther Dorner interviewed 100 bisexual and homosexual men and asked them about the stress levels in their mothers' lives during pregnancy. There were high levels of stress present in the mothers of bisexual men, and as expected, the numbers were even higher in the mothers of homosexuals. After explaining my proposition of homosexuality being biological and supporting my claim with scientific evidence and genetic factors, I hope you have a better understanding about the biological cause of homosexuality, and that it is not a choice and it cannot be changed.
Stephanie, the proposition is very clearly stated, although when you present it, it does have multiple parts to it at the end. You kind of have this addendum on it, so you want to keep it a singular claim. I thought the setup of the structure was very strong, and you'd give us a context for why we should be considering this, why we should be worried about it. I thought the signpost on your first supporting point when you got to the main body of the speech was clear. On the other points, sometimes it was a little rushed. It was usually clear, but I think you're going through the secondary claims a little bit faster than you need to. Background information and explanations about some of the links on the assumptions, like the index finger thing or the older brother explanation. You tell us about the theories, but it's not always clear why those theories pan out or why they developed in the first place, except for the few studies that you mentioned. And on the evidence, I thought that you did a good job. You were very consistent in citing the sources for the evidence and giving us the authority of the researchers on those particular points. And I think that you've got some good data here. The question is not usually the quality of the evidence. It's got to do more with whether it's sufficient and whether or not it overcomes, for instance, alternative theories, which I think is a reservation issue which you probably need to address a little bit more. You had some extra time, so you could do that. It's not a problem. Like I said, I thought maybe you rushed a little bit. But structurally it was sound, very good evidence for the most part. I think you could use some data from some of those studies on the statistical issues. The closest we came to a real statistic was that information about the likelihood of homosexuality in maternal families because of previous homosexual. I mean, there was some statistical relationship there, but the numbers were not very clear. Oh, there was one thing that I was kind of interested in when I was listening to it. I thought about the study that you mentioned, and they studied the stress level in mothers during the pregnancy, and I'm trying to figure out how they did that. You know, they asked people about, when your mother was pregnant, did she have any stress? Well, you know, I'm sure that the scholars who put this research together had some criteria for doing that, but you know, that's one of those kinds of hypotheticals that I'm not sure how convincing it's going to be for people. All right, thank you very much.